This is Glenn Campbell, coming to you from the campus of Wesleyan University in Middletown, Connecticut. This is a safe place for me to talk to you about zombies. I'd like to tell you how to survive the zombie apocalypse. And you may think that I'm joking, but I'm not. In fact, we are in the middle of a zombie crisis right now. And if you're not dealing with it already, in some form you will be dealing with it. There are zombies everywhere. Fortunately, there aren't many zombies right here, so I'm safe to talk about it to you right now. Now, we've already been educated about zombies. Hollywood has taught us a great deal about zombies, so I don't really need to go through the background, but I'll just give you the highlights here. A zombie apocalypse usually happens when the great mass of humanity is afflicted with a virus. And the virus spreads from person to person. It takes over a person's brain. It robs them of their soul and turns them into this animal that wants only one thing, which is usually to eat someone's brain. So we have, in most zombie apocalypse movies, we have zombies roaming the landscape, and there's a few people who have not been infected by the zombie virus, and they're trying desperately to survive. So I don't need to tell you what a zombie is or what a zombie apocalypse is. You already know. And I am saying that this is not just a fiction of Hollywood's imagination, that these zombies are real. And they take human form of people we know. Once these people are infected with the zombie virus, they turn into other people who could do terrible things to you. These zombies are otherwise known as drug addicts. Drug addict and zombies are the same thing, and Hollywood has perfectly prepared you for the zombie mindset and the mindset that we need to get into to be able to survive the zombies. Now, I come from an environment where there are no zombies. I grew up in a drug-free environment, not knowing at the time that that was anything special. I myself have no attraction to drugs. You're lucky to get me to drink a whole beer at one sitting because the buzz, the sensations of any kind of drug use just do not appeal to me. I'm too in tune to my own brain. I like my brain the way it is. I have no reason to mess it up with drugs. It has been an education to me in my adult life to understand that drugs are everywhere and that people all around you can be afflicted by them. They have this attraction to drugs that I don't have, and I've had to learn by trial and error what drugs can do to you and how they can turn you into a zombie. Not all drugs are really involved here. You could say that everything is a drug, everything is an addiction. People get addicted to video games or television or certain foods. They can eat more food than they need, and that can be seen as a form of addiction. Lots of things can be addictions. Lots of things can be drugs. But if you're addicted to video games, you don't go out and knock off a convenience store to serve your addiction. That's the difference between these milder second-level addictions and the hardcore addictions. And I'm talking about hard drugs. Meth, cocaine, heroin, these are hard drugs, and once you get addicted to them, you do these incredibly destructive things like knock off convenience stores and do desperate things to get your fix. Cigarette smokers may be just as addicted. Nicotine is very addictive, but they don't have to rob convenience stores because cigarettes are available, and there's a limit to how many cigarettes you can puff in a day. There's just a practical limit to how much you can do it. That's not true with cocaine or meth. First of all, it's very expensive, so to feed this habit, you've got to do something drastic to get that money. Secondly, there's no natural barrier point the point where you reach satiation. You take some drugs in, you get a high, but next time you do it, you need to take more drugs, and the cycle keeps going till you kill yourself. That's what makes drugs, hard drugs, the really dangerous thing, the thing that you have to look out for, even if you're not doing drugs yourself. Now, in the zombie movies, people are trying desperately to survive. Their friends, their family have turned into zombies. And now the question for the hero is how to survive the zombies. And you do that in two ways. First of all, preventative. You understand how a zombie thinks, and you try your best to avoid crossing paths with that bad behavior. So if zombies only come out at night, then obviously you barricade yourself in at night and avoid the zombies. There's certain places that Hollywood zombies will hang out, and certain places that they don't hang out. They don't like the light, for example. Okay, you stay in the light. Second thing you have to do is you have to actively stop a zombie who happens to be after you. If the zombie wants your brain, then you got to stop him. Typically you do that with a shotgun. Pow! You blow up the zombie just before he gets to you. And that's what most zombie movies are consisting of. Of course, you can't legally do that in the real world. You can't just carry a shotgun around and blow away every drug addict. You've got to work more on the preventative end of things. And then, if you have to deal with the zombie, you have to set some sort of barriers between you and a zombie. You have to set up a firewall between you and a zombie. Now, I know about zombies because I've dealt with them personally. I have never in my life seen anyone shoot up. I've never seen anyone smoke crack. I've never seen drugs being actually taken. But I've dealt with the effects. I've seen good people turn into bad people. I've seen people I've raised and care about turn into zombies. And I've learned by trial and error what works and what doesn't. Basically, force works. Okay? We don't use shotguns, but if you have to deal with a zombie, you have to either get away from them, put them in a position where they can't harm you, or use some sort of force to keep them away. It's very sad. It's sad, and I'm feeling it right now. A zombies. The trouble with a zombie isn't looking for your brain. That's a Hollywood myth. Zombies don't eat brains. Zombies are looking for a fix. That means if they're addicted to meth or heroin or whatever, and they're jonesing, they need their fix. They will do anything to get that fix, including, if it's profitable to them, eating your brain. So if you have a zombie in your household and that zombie needs a fix, that zombie is going to steal from you. He's going to take your money. He's going to take your valuables to sell, to buy drugs. That's what zombies do. And it doesn't matter how good you've been to this person, if you've raised this person from childhood, if you've been kind enough to let this person into your home. If he needs the fix, he's going to use you to get that fix. So that's why you have to put up this barrier between you and the zombie. If you are married to someone who you find is using drugs, you have to get a divorce. You have to separate yourself from them. There's no negotiation that. Your first priority during a zombie attack is to protect yourself. If you're protected, if you're safe, if you're behind a wall, a barrier, then you can worry about the zombie's well-being. But first priority during a zombie attack is to protect yourself from the zombie, put up a wall between you and the zombie. This is easy when you're dealing with the outside world. In a situation where you're close to someone, the walls are much harder to establish. What if your child has become a drug addict? Do you kick them out of the house? I don't know, but you've got to do something to protect yourself. Number one rule in a zombie attack is protect yourself, because at least you have control over what you do. You don't have any control over what that zombie does. Now, I'm talking to you today about what you can do to protect yourself from a zombie attack. I'm not here to discuss drug policy. I don't know what to do on a societal basis for the drug addiction problem. Should we legalize hard drugs? Or should we get harder in this war on drugs? Or what should we do? I don't know the answer to that. And you and I, frankly, have very little control over drug policy. So let's not get into a debate about whether we should legalize or not legalize drugs. I'm just talking about you, what you need to do to protect yourself. And number one rule is protect yourself when you detect a zombie attack. Now, I'm very good at this. I have had, the first part of my life, I had no experience whatsoever in drug abuse. And in fact, the first drug cases I dealt with, the people I knew on drugs, I did the naive, had the naive approach, and I tried to talk to them about it, encourage them not to do it, encourage them to get into a drug control program, blah, blah, when I should have been worrying about the most important thing, which is protecting myself and protecting the people I care about from this zombie. Because basically, just like in the movies, once one is afflicted with the zombie virus, it's too late. There's nothing you can do from the outside to de-zombify them. There is no serum available to take away the zombie disease. Okay? People can change. There are drug addicts who get out of it. But you, from the outside, you cannot do it. So if your relative is a drug addict, you got to know right off, zombie alert. And I've got this now. I've got this drug abuse radar. I've dealt with enough cases that I have drug abuse radar. I can meet someone on the street and know in a few minutes whether they're an addict or not. I can also tell with people I know. I can detect the subtle changes in behavior. Even though I've never seen them shoot up, and in most cases I've never seen them high, I know the changes of behavior that happen when you're addicted to drugs. When that happens, the zombie alert should go off in your head, and you go into self-protection mode number one, which is, if you're married, get a divorce. If this is a roommate, you got to get either you move out or get him to move out, because he's going to steal you blind. Number one option, number one thing to do is protect yourself in a zombie attack. You have to understand how the zombie is thinking. The zombie, at the time he needs drugs, is very opportunistic. Zombies don't go out and plan elaborate crimes. They knock off convenience stores. They smash and grab. They grab purses. They take anything that's not nailed down and that can be quickly sold, because this is an immediate need. It's not a projected need. It's an immediate need. So you want to put yourself in a position where you're not giving a zombie an opportunity. When they need a fix, they go out in the streets like zombies, and they try to obtain something that they can sell for drugs. This is also true if you live with a zombie. If your roommate happens to be an addict, or your relative happens to be an addict, no matter how good you've been to them, when they go into zombie mode and they need drugs, they're going to rip you off. They're going to go through your stuff. They're going to steal your money. They're going to steal whatever that isn't nailed down that they can sell and turn into drugs. The logical question, now you've protected yourself. Now you feel safe. What can you do to help the zombie? And sadly, there's really not much you can do. The suburban neighborhood I grew up in says, well, you need to help this person. If this person is on hard drugs, you need to help them. You need to get them counseling or check them into a drug treatment program. What I learned later with experience and by studying the family court system in Las Vegas, I learned these approaches don't work. When someone has become a zombie, there is nothing you can do to help them. This is very sad. This is kind of hard to accept, especially if the zombie happens to be a family member, happens to be someone you care about. There is nothing you can do to help them. You can drag them to a drug treatment program, but it's not going to work. The reason is you've dragged them, you've coerced them. It's not their doing to be there. In fact, the whole notion of drug treatment is fundamentally flawed because the notion of drug treatment is that we are going to cure you instead of you curing yourself. So if you check into a rehab program, the implication is the rehab program is going to cure you when in fact only you can cure you. When people do kick drugs, it's because they have done it themselves. They've been kicked down so many times that they decide, I'm going to change. Then they enroll in a drug program and they seem to be cured by the drug program. But in fact, it's nothing more than a placebo effect. Once someone makes this decision that they're going to change, any sort of treatment program, any sort of placebo is going to work for them. The real thing is that they have made the decision to change. So AAA isn't, AA, Alcoholics Anonymous isn't going to change anybody, even though it seems to, even though AA members believe it has. It hasn't really done it. It's because they've made the decision when they went into AA, I'm going to change. You take, statistically, you run tests, any conceivable test, scientifically to test whether a drug treatment program really works against control subjects, control situations. The drug treatment is at most gives a minor little improvement, and it's just more like having a society around you than the actual treatment portion of it at all. It just drug treatment scientifically does not work. So it's senseless for you to try to drag your friend or your relative to drug treatment. The only thing you can do for them is to provide boundaries. That is, when they do bad things, you respond in the appropriate way. If someone steals from you, then you kick them out of the house. You do something to enforce the boundaries on somebody, because that's the only way they're going to suffer enough pain to finally make that decision to change. The decision has to come from within, but it comes about because someone has suffered so much pain that they finally decide not to do it. It's not a sure thing. So there's nothing you can do. I don't know how to emphasize this so much, but if someone has become a zombie, the only thing you can do is protect yourself and protect the people you care about from this zombie. Short of blowing them away with a shotgun, you have to put up a firewall that protects you from their inevitable bad behavior. I said I wasn't going to talk about social policy. I don't know what the proper drug policy is in this country. It's obviously isn't working, whatever we're doing now, but I'm not sure that I have a better solution. Let's not discount throwing someone in jail for drug abuse. It sounds so cruel. Why would you throw someone in jail for a disease? Well, jail dries people out. 6 months in jail will get you off drugs and give you plenty of time to think about drugs. Now, a lot of people, after those 6 months in jail, they go right on the street and do drugs again. But a lot of people, it really changes. So let's not discount jail for drug addicts. Beyond that, I really don't know what to do. I know that mandated drug treatment where the court assigns someone, so you either go to jail or go to drug treatment. They go to drug treatment. That drug treatment is entirely ineffective. It's a waste of money, a waste of taxpayer money. There's no evidence to say that that works. It just society, it feels good to society to label this a disease and try to treat it like a disease as though that really helps. And in my experience, it doesn't help, and there's no scientific evidence. You show me scientific evidence that says drug treatment works. I see all these zombie movies, and that perfectly captures my experience of dealing with people on drugs. Here was somebody you cared about, somebody who you've done a lot of things for, who you have a lot of bonds with. They get into drugs and they turn into other people. They turn into zombies, and these zombies will do anything to get their fix, including harm you and take everything that you have. So if you think you're not dealing with a zombie apocalypse, you probably are, or you will be dealing with an apocalypse, because drug addicts are everywhere. In a zombie apocalypse, you've got to protect yourself. You've got to put out walls between you and the zombie. Try not to kill the zombie, but get away from it. At least get away from the bad effects of the zombie and protect yourself. That's what I have to say about zombies.